This is Breakfast with Stephen on your TV and on your radio at 8:39 this Sunday morning.
We have been talking about the hottest the hottest temperatures you've ever experienced, also the coldest. But I tell you what about this one? Richard, morning Richard, says, I worked in a paper mill for 35 years. My hottest days were inside the top of the dryer hood, which sometimes reached 75 degrees. We couldn't work in there for more than 10 minutes at a time. You would cook.
Oh, God, that's awful. Meanwhile, you remember the pay-per-view last hour where Mariana Hotter, who is back along with Amy Nicole, by the way, was saying, going through, we need to offer people, look after the elderly and all that sort of thing, keep them hydrated.
And you mocked me.
I did mock you. David in Heathfield has been in touch, said, I'm 70 and I'm going to spend the day walking up and down my high street so I could be offered free drinks. What do you say to David?
David, you're an idiot.
Oh, you can't say...
I don't mean you, do I? Maybe you should go and offer other people drinks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Never underestimate the importance of staying hydrated, David.
Yeah.
That's what I could have said. You're right. That's probably nicer
that's better
than
than
you're an idiot.
Yes. I hope
Sorry,
if you want
Dave.
your free drinks, David, I hope you hang about outside the pubs. That's what I'm saying. Still
day,
hydrate on lager.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as for pottering in the garden,
He's
it's
not a
lovely
professional
weather. Pottering in the garden, if you're doing so this afternoon, Julie says, I am single-handedly doing my bit in the garden, cultivating snails. They lurk in the weeds. They go for B&B in my watering can. Why? They just love making pretty patterns on the decking and trellis. Before I trim anything or uproot anything, I knock first to see if anyone's in. I love that. And Sharon in Medway says, I've got a tame blackbird in my garden who my granddaughter has named Beaky, and he taps on my window for feeding.
Oh,
See, this is what you're
that's
doing.
quite
Yeah, water out for the birds as well.
Water out for the birds, yeah, that's true.
Oh, so that's okay. So we're allowed to look after the birds, just not elderly people.
You don't have to ask
I just
the
want to be
birds, just
clear
leave
of
it
the
out there. I
priorities.
mean, you can leave buckets of water outside on the street for passers-by if you want.
The elderly
I
or
don't
the
think you
birds.
need it. I've got squirrels in my garden at the minute. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Julie from Anglesey, our holiday in Egypt, 50 degrees. All excursions were early morning, as by midday you couldn't go out. And Chappie worked in the Russian Arctic between 94 and 98. Highest temperature was 45 degrees. Lowest was minus 55.
Oof.
That's a bit of a
I know.
thing, isn't it?
But it's very challenging, isn't it?
Challenging. Oh, yeah, that's the way.
Tell you what, though, if you do ever get to go to Egypt, as we were saying earlier, you have to choose your moment in time, I gather. But if you do, and you are either on one of those cruise boats going up and down the Nile, or just at a hotel, the lovely thing is you do go out very early in the morning, because obviously it gets so hot at midday, and you see your pyramids or whatever, and then when you come back, they greet you always with a glass of water or something stronger, and a freezing cold towel.
Oh.
You know, and it's just, you look forward to getting back out of
With
the
a towel.
heat. So the cold towel which you can put around your neck, and then a glass of something like. Oh,
And predictably,
that's why I like going on holiday.
when you go back on holiday, it doesn't matter how hot it is because you return to air
Yes,
conditioning.
yeah.
Yeah.
The problem here is we don't have that.
No, that's true.
No, that is true. As you can see, Amy Nicole, Mariana Hotter are here, so let's go through some of the papers in a bit more detail. Marianne, with dare I say, Marianne, a slight look of glee on your face, is looking at the Sunday Times and the minute-by-minute account of the PM's downfall. Is that unfair of me?
Sort of.
Okay.
Because I think Boris Johnson is absolutely disgusting. So honestly, if it were not me reviewing the papers for you guys, I would have flipped past this, because this isn't fun for me, because I think he's awful. I know lots of your viewers
enjoy the
love him.
headline.
Well,
Hold it up.
but the thing that I really like about this, and the reason that I chose it, because obviously there's loads of stories about, so it says neutered. This is a kind of blow-by-blow, minute-by-minute account of what Boris Johnson was doing in the last 24 hours of his time as PM before he resigned. And it's got this sort of brilliant header that someone's obviously had a lot of fun with Photoshop, attaching Boris's face to a bunch of cats, because the idea being that one of his sort of political allies, one of his close aides who's worked with him for many years, said, oh, forget the cat with 9 lives. Boris seems to have 99. And so this political commentator guy called Tim Shipman, who writes very well, and kind of isn't partisan, he sort of describes Boris as the the most consequential Prime Minister of his adult life, and that since 2016 we've been living in a world shaped more by his actions and urges than anything else. Bear in mind, this is the Sunday Times, so generally quite favourable towards the Conservative Party. It's just a brilliant sort of overview of some of the most remarkable things that were kind of happening, how everyone was sort of moving, and that Boris Johnson, despite his 99 cats' lives, eventually was brought down. Quote, the third Prime Minister to be brought down by Boris Johnson was Boris Johnson, because he kind of just, you know, if you're going to do that many terrible things. Yeah. And the idea now that the next thing that everybody's worried about is that apparently there are 24 unexploded bombs, so scandals that the new leader will inherit that are kind of ready to blow up in the public. And the royals are worried about the list of honours. So traditionally, the Prime Minister kind of brings a list of names that he wants people to get. Peerages. No, peerages. So this isn't the money
Resignation
that...
honours.
So, no.
Yeah, but that is peerages as well, isn't it? Resignation honours.
You mean
Right,
elevations to the House of Lords?
Yeah, so people getting to the House of Lords or getting...
But every outgoing Prime Minister does that.
Yes. So David Cameron handed out 8. Theresa May handed out 30, or she created 13 peers. The thinking at the moment is that Johnson might want more than 20, and some of them might be a little bit questionable.
No,
for
Dominic
example,
Cummings won't be in there.
his dad. He wants his dad to get one. He wants Allegra Stratton, who was the spokesperson, you know, who's
Took the bullet. I think she deserves one. She was treated absolutely terribly.
She was. Yeah, I think I agree with you.
It still
but I don't know
has
if this
to go
would
through
make
the appointments. It still has to go through the appointments committee.
It does, and also apparently someone who helped appoint Chris Pincher, which would be a very dubious thing. So it's kind of, you know, like handing out the thank yous and the airs and graces.
Oh, I don't know. I think people are throwing a lot of dirt at the Prime Minister at the minute. I don't know whether it.
Well, I think. Well,
anyway,
yeah.
I tell you,
Anyway.
let's move.
So
Let's
have
move
a read
on
and see what you think.
to something a bit more sensible, in the sense that Peter Andre is saying his kids will never do Love Island, which, thank heavens.
I picked this story, this sensible story, because I think there's a little it's in the Mirror, and it's Peter Andre warning his children of Love Island, saying, I don't want them to do the crazy stuff I did. However, this made me think of the wider question of, would you want your children to go on Love Island? Because it goes right next to an interview with one of the parents of the current Love Island cast. And there's a recent study from the University of York which has directly correlated appearing on Love Island with a really negative impact on your body image, and you leave generally with increased levels of anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. And similar correlations have been suggested for the massive viewing figures. Basically, the show is not good for the people in it, and it's not good for the people watching it.
In fact, it's one of the contestants, I don't know whether she's still in it now, is the daughter of Michael Owen, the footballer. Michael?
Yeah.
And he has said how very, very worried he is that she's doing it at all.
I think when people go on a show where the focus and aim is to be rich and famous, both those values are ultimately very empty and shallow, and there's only going to be limited happiness that comes from it. But we're peddled this kind of recipe that this is the secret to success. Going on this show will make all your dreams come true. So I think when you leave and it doesn't, it can have really devastating consequences, as we've seen, because 2 of the cast literally took their own lives.
Have you ever watched it?
Yeah, I'm not watching this series, but I have,
You have
in the past
watched regularly. I mean, you've made it something you wanted to watch.
Honestly,
You've watched enough of it, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that, you know, I'm someone that's really struggled with body image over the years, and I think it teaches young people that they have to fit a certain...
And yet you're watching it.
No, I'm not.
Well, not now, but you have been.
Well, I think...
I watched one episode to find out what everyone
Yeah,
was
this
going
is
on
more
about.
the reason I've watched it, just to kind of study it. I've said, this is what our last conversation was about on Sky, that it's an anthropological study. So I kind of like to watch it from that to see, you know...
I've never seen it, but my kids love it, and they're
Do they?
intelligent kids. Yeah.
I've never seen it.
I said, what on earth do you watch that for? It's fun.
I
not
hate
fun.
reality TV.
Well, I think-
Lots of stuff. I hate it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you can watch it on sort of two levels at the same time. So your kids aren't stupid. They know that it's fun. They know that it's manufactured. They know that all the youngsters who are on it know it's manufactured and they're sort of performing. But partly that's the challenge, because the grey area between who you are really, and who you are as a performer, as a sort of character of yourself, becomes a little bit murky, and that's where your self-esteem lies. And Love Island is all about a popularity contest, pretty much based on whether someone thinks you're attractive,
Yeah.
for very, superficial reasons, and how your body looks. And fundamentally,
And whether you're sexy, frankly. It's about that.
well, yeah, but it's sexy,
just
not in
very
sexy because you've got a kind of a genuine connection in terms of personality or how you think about the world, or it's all kind of, are you in love with her? Let's have a deeper, meaningful conversation. Now I'm going to go and backstab you over there, and it's all kind of like high drama.
Yeah.
But it's stressful and destabilised.
It's like a
we're being
spoof of a soap opera, isn't
Yeah.
it?
yeah,
It's
we're
like-
being
and yet it's
invited
the real
to
people.
laugh at it, but also it penetrates your psyche.
And there's a 19-year-old appearing on this year's series, which I just
Children.
exactly, and
Yeah.
for that,
I think Michael Owen's
That
daughter
age.
is 19, isn't
is
she?
that
Shaz?
the one who's
Well, I think if you're
That is-
19, maybe you wouldn't do it. If you're
No.
39, you'd be like,
Well, absolutely.
what?
Yes.
39, it'd be all right. We're out of time.
It's the sexy
Oh,
one.
no.
Marianne, Amy, good to see you both this morning. Thank you very much indeed.